Farmers' betterment nobody's case, time for reform in agricultural sector. Written by Sanjay K. Bisoyi, tribal and environment activist, independent researcher. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is under pressure to deliver on the 2014 poll promise of higher MSPs. The centrality of MSPs in vote bank politics is well known, but the economics of it is not sufficiently appreciated. The MSP, the price at which the government offers to procure from farmers, is an economic policy tool which requires technical acumen. A sensible policy would be to buy from farmers when market prices are depressed and sell stocks in the open market when prices are elevated. In the first scenario, if the MSP is pegged higher than the market price, the procurement will raise the market price, boosting farm incomes. In the latter, by offloading its stocks at a price lower than the market price, government can cushion consumers against excessive inflation. The buyers of the subsidized sales, an efficient public distribution system, are directly benefited, but as the sales also lead to lower prices in the open market, all consumers gain. Procurement works effectively only if trade controls and stocks management are aligned with it. How these tools tend to be deployed in a counterproductive manner was evident in the example of pulses in 2016-17. Despite a bumper harvest, after a steep MSP hike and good rains, export controls and stocking limits for private traders were retained and a record volume of imports allowed to be shipped in. The resulting glut sent the market price down, below the MSPs, rendering it pointless. The looming losses set off farmer protests seeking even higher MSPs. The United Progressive Alliance government's MSP policy was blamed for the food prices inflation, from 2009 to 2013. The culprit, though, was poor management of food stocks. The government had been raising MSPs to reduce the gap between low domestic and high global agricultural prices. The launch of the National Food Security Mission and a global food prices crisis necessitated hikes more aggressive than were originally planned. The high MSP ensured that the increase in food grain production in the 4-year period, 42 million metric tons, was more than double of what had been targeted. But the high MSP also edged out private traders, forcing a scale-up in procurement. Wheat and rice stocks surged but were not used to dampen market prices. Former Chief Economic Advisor Kaushik Basu has written about the mindset behind the reluctance to release stocks to cool rising prices. The argument was that selling at a price lower than the purchase price, MSP plus carrying costs, would inflict losses on the exchequer and add to the fiscal deficit. Since procurement spending is a sunk cost, not selling implied even higher fiscal losses. International wheat prices were 30% lower than in India, yet consumers were forced to pay more. Agricultural economist Ashok Gulati's calculations show that even after 4 years of systematically aggressive hikes, Indian MSPs of rice and wheat are less than support prices in China and other Asian countries, betraying India's bias in favor of consumers. This bias explains the deepening economic divide between the farm-dependent and the rest of the population, reflected in insecurities of even traditionally landowning people. The narrative is that the bulk of agriculture is not sufficiently productive to be able to gainfully engage young rural Indians, and so policy attention must be on building industry. China's experience challenges such notions. The Chinese economic reforms were kicked off in 1978 with an overhaul of agriculture. As farm prices were decontrolled, real per capita incomes began rising and, in just 6 years, Chinese poverty levels halved, from 33% in 1978 to 15% in 1984. In contrast, India's 1991 reforms bypassed agriculture altogether and instead focused completely on industrial liberalization. Indian poverty halved in 18 years from 45% in 1993 to 22% in 2011. The budget presents an opportunity to revisit strategic choices. Nothing short of an overhaul of agriculture.